Since 2003, this is The Sports Source, East Tennessee's #1 sports talk show.
Brought to you by Junk Be Gone and the Garza Law Firm.
With your host, John Pennington. The Sports Source starts now.
Good Sunday morning. Welcome into the Sports Source. Happy to have you joining us on this chilly morning. The Volunteers fall to Florida 31-19. It's the 15th time in 16 years they've lost to the Gators. Sixth game in a row they've lost. That's the longest UT losing streak since '88. And Jeremy Pruitt's now 0-9 versus Alabama, Florida, Georgia. On the plus side, a couple of late scores kept it from being another 20-point loss. So they're closing the gap. We'll discuss the game. We'll discuss the quarterback play. We'll discuss a lot of stuff today. It's going to be a full show here on the Sports Source. Again, thanks for joining us. Let's dive right in. First segment of this program brought to you by our friends at Garza Law. Locally owned businesses are the backbone of the Sports Source. They're also the backbone of the East Tennessee economy. We turn to our own around here. I'm an East Tennessean. We like to go to the neighbors. And you can do that when you need an attorney, because Marcos Garza is a neighbor. He is a part of this community. There are a lot of ads you'll see right now from companies, from law firms in Birmingham and Chattanooga and West Tennessee saying they're in Knoxville. They're not. If you need an attorney, call a Knoxville-based attorney. Marcos Garza, the Garza Law Firm, garzalaw.com. All right, let's welcome in the first panel of the day. We've got right here former Vol Will Overstreet. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks.
Right there from WNML, Jimmy Himes. You can hear him Monday through Friday on Sports Talk. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And right down there, thank you, Chuck, for setting a line that got a bunch of us beat yesterday. Chuck Cavaleras, longtime sports writer, and of course the head man at the Chucky C-Note Casino. Thanks for joining us. I don't mean that. You took my money, my imaginary money.
My pleasure, John.
Okay.
My pleasure.
All right, Jeremy Pruitt was quick to point out that his team gave great effort yesterday. Thought they did. He also gave a pat on the back to those guys who missed practice this week due to COVID tracing and still got out there. Fair enough. I don't have a problem with that. But I want to know how you felt about that game. Because as I watched it, I'm sitting there thinking, all right, I don't want to pat them on the back because they didn't have a chance to win this game. This was, it was closer, but they didn't have a chance to win it. At the same time, I'm like, well, I don't want to crush them because I thought they'd get annihilated, and they didn't. They did fight. What's your takeaway? How are you feeling? How should folks at home be feeling about that game? What are your takeaways in terms of Tennessee, Florida?
Yeah, it's hard to say this, but I feel worse a little bit because I didn't feel that Florida came out and played that well. I felt like they coasted a little bit, and I felt, frankly, in the second half, they worked in their run game.
Yeah.
I mean, they'd gotten to a point where they knew, hey, if we need to score, we can line up, we can get guys on linebackers, we can throw the ball on the slants inside, and we can go down and, throw 12 yards of pass and walk down the field and score at any point in time that we need to. And I think they also took the perspective that you have to look at this Tennessee team and say, if you get more than 24 points, this offense does not have the ability to score more than that in a game on air almost. It is just not an offense that can score more than 20 points. And so you're looking at that. They knew they had 31. They said, okay, what can we work on? What do we need to do? Don't get anybody hurt. We got an SEC championship to play for in a couple of weeks. We're out of this game. And that's what the game looked like to me. So unfortunately, this feels worse to me just because you had that team come in and do that and then go, yeah, we can stop. And they were able to do that, and we weren't able to do much about that.
There were times where it looked like they were scrimmaging.
Yes, it
Tennessee.
did.
Jimmy, Chuck, are you feeling better, worse, the same?
No, I'm not the rain cloud that Willie over here is.
No one's that big a rain cloud.
I thought there were some things that Tennessee did pretty well. Look, you got to search for those, but you had 3 drives of at least 90 yards. That's pretty good against Florida. You had the second half. You actually played better in the second half in the fourth quarter than you've been doing during this 6-game losing streak, so that's a little bit better. I thought it was interesting that Pruitt said afterward that it's not an issue of effort. It's not an issue of being tough enough. It's an issue of execution. What game is this? How far into the season are you before you're going to start executing at a high level like you need to? That's a big concern to me about where Tennessee is. Yeah, it looked like Florida was toying with them. I did think there were some nice things that Tennessee did in the game, but it also tells you, to me, how far these programs are apart right now. Florida's right here, and Tennessee's still right here.
That's interesting. We'll get back to that because Jeremy Pruitt seemed to have a different take on how far apart those teams are. We'll discuss that in a couple of segments.
Does it
your
say
thoughts?
something when you feel good because you didn't get blown out? You know, it wasn't like Alabama just blasting LSU. And John, you say like Tennessee did not have a chance to win, and that's probably true. But at the same time, if you do a few more things, at least you had a 7-3 lead. At least you had the lead against Florida. At least you scored a touchdown. at least you threw a swing pass that we've been, begging for them to try something else. It's like everybody says, yeah, there's some things that you can pick here and there. But, boy, the gap between these programs is like watching an NFL offense and a high school offense in many cases to me.
At least you had a lead on them. That's like the Lee Corso thing where he took Indiana out at halftime and got the team photo because they had the lead on Ohio State at half. What you're saying is true. I mean, you look at it, and these are small positives. I look at it a little bit like this. If that were Jeremy Pruitt's first year, and we knew what he was inheriting, I would be saying, okay, they showed fight. They had some things go against them during the week. There were some positives to find. In year 3, in week 8 of year 3, I'm not as eager to look for positives in that. Will,
yeah, it's just, too, like you said, the execution thing. Well, this isn't only just this far into the season. This is 3 years. Yeah. This is your system. This defense is your system. You've brought guys in to fit your system. The first year you were here, you always said, well, wait till I get my guys. Wait till I get my guys in. Great, you're getting beat by more. That's the part that's depressing to me is like you've brought your guys in to fit this system, and you've gotten worse.
Well, one of the things we looked at in year 1 when he was saying this, halftime, I almost ran those quotes today. It was halftime Alabama. I went back and found them. It was from 2018, October 21st. That show, I was going to pull up the graphics. Didn't do it. Should have, because now I'm going to say it anyway. But he made the comment that, all right, we're going to have to get another recruiting class in. We're going to get rid of 4 seniors. I'm going to bring in 25 new guys. And one of the things we talked about was, team speed. Did Tennessee look like they've caught up to Florida in terms of team speed yesterday? I didn't see it. Not when Florida was actually putting the foot to the pedal. I didn't think Tennessee looked like the faster team.
How easy was that Florida touchdown just before half? You go back and forth in motion, and you go out to the right, it's wide open. That's a walk-in. That's too easy. The frustrating thing, I think, for Jeremy Pruitt is there's a handful of times where he has the perfect defensive play call, and it doesn't work. And then when you have a bust, it doesn't work. So that pass defense, like a perfect example of that is when Florida had like 3 or 4 receivers to the right, Kyle Pitts left, Jeremy Pruitt standing there yelling, they're going to throw the ball to Kyle Pitts down the left side. You still can't stop it. So, something's got to be fixed or simplified or somewhere through there. That's just a horrible pass defense.
Jimmy, he made the comment after the game talking about his team being, we're 90% of the time we're running top-tier type plays in the SEC, and there's just 4 or 5 mistakes that we still make. Do you buy that 90% of the time this 2-6 football team that loses by double digits, 15 of the last 18 losses for him, do you buy 90% of the time they're running top-tier plays? I do not. I read that and wanted to call Bulls BS.
No, I didn't buy it either. Not 90%. My goodness. And he also said, we have to count all the plays. Yeah, unfortunately, he said you have to count all the plays. No, I don't even think they're close to 90% of where they need to be. And the other concern to me about Pruitt, we've kind of talked about this before, a lot of the greatest improvement we've seen from players under his watch were usually the Butch Jones guys. How come the players he's recruited have not made substantial steps? We've seen some improvement from some of the players, but we've not seen them make a jump like a Nigel Warrior did or a Daniel Batuli did. Why is that? Why is it the players he's recruited have not shown up and played at a higher level? I don't understand that one.
There are going to be people that didn't want to hear us say that, and I'm glad you said it because we kind of thought the same thing. Didn't want to hear people say that Florida wasn't giving it their all throughout that game. But look at Dan Mullen's quote after the game last night. They asked him about the victory. He said, it shows where the program's at, right? When we're winning 31-7, when cleanup time, mop-up time starts, and we kind of just clean up the game to finish it out, and we say that's not a very good game by us or not one of our great performances. It shows where we're at as a program. That sounds like a guy who knew what was going on out there. And it sounds like a guy who backs up kind of our view that they took their foot off the gas. And so it's hard to walk away and say progress was made when Florida kind of eased up at times. So we'll talk about how much that easing up had an effect on the quarterbacks, because you had Harrison Bailey, everybody wanted him, got him out there for a game, for most of the game. Then they pull him late and put in JT Shroud. And now everybody's in love with JT Shroud, who looked really good against backups in prevent defense. We'll discuss the quarterback situation next on the Sports Center.